Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. The Pan-Igbo Socio-Cultural Organization of Ohaneze Ndigbo has recently threatened to sue the federal government over what it called the failure to create an additional state in the Southeast region despite a series of agitations anchored on alleged marginalization. The Pan-Igbo group says it is not fair for the Southeast region to have only 5 states, despite its contribution to supporting the unity of the country. It claimed that the development has made the region lose a substantial amount of resources that ought to have come from the Federation account. Now, the new threat from Ohaneze Ndigbo is not the first in the existential struggle for state creation in the country, as many of such demands have been made by other regions through various means such as constitutional conferences and public hearings. The ultimate aim is to have increased access to resource allocation, increased participation and influence in the larger Nigerian project, even as others continue to interrogate the utilization of available resources at the subnational level for the benefit of the people. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with the leader of the Ohaneze Ndigbo worldwide, Chief Emmanuel to expatiate on the rationale behind the threat to sue the federal government over the state creation issue. Chief Emmanuel joins us virtually from Owerri, the Imo State capital. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Chief.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. I'm very delighted.
Hi, Chief.
Very delighted to be with you today. Thank you very much.
Okay. We also have in the studio, Comrade Mohammed Fantami. He is the Secretary General, Alewa Youth Network, Best Society. He has a contrary view, with that of the Ohaneze. This is a group that is championing some of the objectives of the northern region. Thank you also for joining us.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
And okay, before we commence the conversation, let's take a short break. We will be back shortly. Stay with us. Okay, thank you very much once again for staying with us. And now we go straight to Owerri, the Imo State capital, where we'll hear from the leader of the Ohaneze Ndigbo, Chief Emmanuel Nwanyanwu. Chief, if you are there, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay, let's go straight to the conversation. Your group, the Ohaneze Ndigbo, just recently threatened to sue the federal government over its failure to create additional state in the southeast. What is the rationale behind this? Why do you have to take the legal action against the government?
Suleiman, yes, I'm the leader of Igbos today, and I have the responsibility on making sure that I present Igbo case properly to the rest of this country, because we Igbos believe, contrary to the views shared by some, we believe in the unity of this country.
Okay, we seem to have some technical glitches there. Oh, okay, the network, the audio has some issues. Okay, Comrade Fantami, while the audio is being fixed, yes. Why are you against, the decision by Ohaneze, to sue the federal government? Perhaps you are all regional groups championing the cause of your people.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir, for the question. The issue is not about just suing the federal government. It's looking at the country as a whole. All of us, we have the interests of Nigeria at heart. And the reason why there is government is because we need fairness, equity, and justice to all citizens of the country.
Right.
And we have made a lot of analysis, and we have seen that the northern Nigeria is acutely marginalized.
In what sense now?
In terms of state creation, resource distribution, political empowerment, socio-economic development, and so on. I can analyze all this.
And let's take the state creation, for instance. Are you saying that the northern states, have not been fairly treated in terms of state creation?
Absolutely, the northern Nigeria is not fairly treated. I can give you, for instance, the northern Nigeria, it is facts and figures that northern Nigeria covers more than 71% of the total landmass of the country. And it is obvious that if you are contesting for president, if the North did not support you, virtually you may not be able to win because of the number of votes that comes out from the North. That means we have the landmass, we have the population, and we have mineral resources discovered in so many parts of northern Nigeria. I can give you an instance. One state in northern Nigeria is bigger than 10 states in the south. If you consider the southeast, for instance.
Yeah, how do you mean when just one state?
Yes.
Bigger than 10 states?
Yes, if you check facts and figures, Niger State alone is 76,000 kilometers squares landmass, and it has a population of about more than 6 million people. And there are so many mineral resources that are discovered in Niger State. So the southeast as a whole is less than 30 kilometers squares. That means Niger State is more than twice the size of the entire southeast. And you will have a balance of more than 16 kilometers squares, 16,000 kilometers squares. Southeast is about 30,000. Twice of it is 60,000. The remaining 16,000 is more than 5 times the size of Lagos State. That means Niger State alone is bigger than the Southeast. If you are talking about creation of state for the Southeast, comparing with Niger State alone, Niger State can be divided into 10 states. Borno State, for instance, is 70,000 kilometers squares. And the southeast is less than 30,000 kilometers squares. And Borno State has a population, if you check the population of Borno State, it has a population more than twice of some of the states in the southeast and even in the southwest. That means, and there are enormous resources discovered in Borno State. When Al-Mustafa was making analysis of his campaign, he said there is a mineral resource that is discovered in Borno State, Californium, to be precise, in Sambisa Forest, that Californium can build 10 times the development in Dubai, in United States Emirates. This implies that Borno State has resources, Borno State has population, Borno State has the landmass that can be divided into 5 or 6 states. In northern Nigeria, for instance, if Indi Igbo or Ohaneze Indi Igbo is demanding for creation of additional state, in northern Nigeria we need additional of more than 30 states if we properly analyze it.
But why, every region has, just like Chief has said earlier, he has the mandate to speak for the Igbo people under the platform of Ohaneze, and he is doing such. So what's wrong with them? If with all the analysis you made, there hasn't been agitations, if you like, for creation of additional states here in the north. And then the Igbos felt that there is need for an additional state, and they're even taking it a notch higher to say that they are suing the federal government. So are you saying that they don't have the constitutional right, the moral right to do so? But let's get back to High Chief Emmanuel Nwanyao. Chief, if you are back, I understand the connection is back now. You were making a point before that technical glitch.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. I was making a point. Somebody telephoned and cut off my line. And that's unfortunate. I'm sure I will have such disruptions again. But I pray that I don't have such disruptions again. However, I will be very quick in presenting my case.
Very well.
I want to make it abundantly clear that since amalgamation of this country in 1914, Igbos have been very faithful. In 1960, we have independence, we swore to oath. Igbos have been faithful to Nigeria. Igbos have believed in one Nigeria. Igbos have been domiciled everywhere in Nigeria. Frankly speaking, the creation of states, first of all, Nigeria had three regions: Northern region, Western region, and Eastern region. This was in 1948 by Arthur Richards. It wasn't actually Igbos. Later on, the military now introduced states and started creating states. Now, Igbos, these states were created at a time when the war ended. Igbos were locked up in a civil war that lasted 3 years. We came out of that civil war. Nigerians know the situation of Igbos in 1970 when the war ended. We didn't have any influence in the military. Military was ruling the country at that time. The states were created by military. Local governments were created by military. They were not democratically done. And this fact was recognized. In 2005, Obasanjo appointed a political reform conference. This political reform conference of the whole of this country, Nigeria, recognized that the creation of states, the creation of zones was not fair to Igbos. And in the 2005 political reform conference unanimously agreed that Igbos deserve an additional state to make it 6. Because it was, the question is, if the military is making every zone 6, why should it be only Southeast that should be 5? If some zones, like North Central, like some other zones, are also 5. But it is clear that Southeast is the only zone that for 5 states. We made the case, and Nigerians agreed with us in 2005. In 2014, Jonathan had another political reform conference. In that conference, all other people who actually wanted state also made their position clear. That conference again emphasized that Southeast will have 2 states. One, to balance up the earlier one to make it 6. Then every other zone to have additional 1 state. That means, in fact, every zone now will have 7 states, apart from maybe Northwest, which already have 7. So the truth is, the gentleman who was giving figures and analysis,
yes,
I don't disagree with him. He's maybe making some points. But you see, I want to let him know that the states were not created according to land area. The states were not created among, he talks about minerals. Yes, we have not done any serious study of minerals. There could be factors, but if in the Southeast, we have minerals. He has quoted the area, but he talks about people, land area. But we have, land area is not the only criteria. But at any rate, what I'm saying is this. The gentleman who is talking there, whereas we are not challenging the North has a right. We are not challenging the desire of the right to ask for more states.
Right.
The North can ask for more states. Southeast is not going to oppose them.
Yeah, Chief, just like
we don't want people to oppose us when we ask for our own.
Right.
Why should somebody oppose us?
Yeah.
All the states in the North have got, all these ones in the North have a minimum of 6 states.
Yeah.
We are asking that we want 6. I think that instead of anybody opposing us, if he thinks that by that rationale we are putting up, they need more states. The zones that require to have more states, they should apply.
Yeah.
We in Southeast will not oppose them. So we can't understand why somebody you make it a duty every time we want something, they oppose us. I can't understand it because we are not opposing it. We are not. I'm not debating the population of the North. I'm not debating the area of the North. But the North has the right. And in fact, in 2014, the North made application, which was very properly considered. And in the report that time, the North had additional states. The North had additional states, and the South also have additional states. So the truth about it is, I would like us to be careful when we address issues in this country. It is in interest of everybody to have one united country.
Yes, hi, Chief.
Igbos are ready. Igbos are not stopping any group.
Chief,
but when we fight for our rights.
Chief.
And we want to, we say that we deserve it.
Chief,
and 2005, Nigeria said they agree with us. 2014, they agree with us. So if we in the Southeast want to go to court, yes, if this has not been fulfilled, we have a right to go to court. If any other group in Nigeria think they deserve more state, they can go to court.
Chief, can you hear
Southeast
me?
will not stop them.
Chief,
I don't want anybody, instead of encouraging us to say they're stopping us.
Let's talk
Please,
about the basics, Chief.
I'm appealing to all Nigerians.
Reason why, a state should be created. Let's look at the criteria, as you rightly put. There must be a reason why you are agitating for this additional states. You talked about the fact that the South is only have 5, others have 6. There are even a region with 7 states. But if we were to look at the criteria in terms of viability, because states are created for them to be able to survive, right now as we speak, before we talk about the legal issues, I know you are going to court. I don't know if you have gone to court already. If you've gone to court, what are the grounds, that you are canvassing at the court, in respect to this suit against the federal government?
Now, why should I have seen that you are against me. You are against my demanding for say. Why should I tell you the grounds? I think it's not your business, because you have already said clearly that we don't deserve it.
No.
But see, I have told you.
Want to know.
I've told you 2005, this matter was discussed. 2014, this matter was discussed. You're asking me the ground I'm going to court. I have told you clearly that this matter has been discussed twice by a properly constituted political reform conference set up by government of Nigeria, approved by National Assembly of Nigeria. Then I don't know what again you want me to say. And all these approved it. I'm going to court because these 2 constitutional conferences set up by the government of Nigeria, approved by the National Assembly, have all in their report recognized the fact that Southeast deserve additional states. For avoidance of doubt, there are 6 zones in the country. Southeast is not stopping anybody that I want to have who say they want 10 states. They can go ahead. If others want to go to court, they should go ahead. We in the Southeast will not go to say they should not be given. We don't want to interfere if they feel they get it. So when you talk about viability of states, well, I think with due respect, I think our states are very viable. And let me tell you, if you go through, states are not created according to landmass. I agree that economic viability is part of the reason. And I think we are viable. The 6 states we are requesting for, even 7 states, we are viable. We can handle them. Our economy, our resources can handle them. Thank you very much.
Okay, Chief, the reason why I asked that question is the fact that, when you talk about beyond just the numbers, somebody would want to know, the state of the current states in the Southeast, for instance, the 5, how are they managing their affairs, just like any other state in the country, not just the Southeast. According to a report from the Economy Confidential, 7 out of the 36 states of the Federation It is only 7 out of the 36 states of the Federation that can live without federal allocation, for instance. And out of these 7 states, there is no single state even from the southeast. Some perhaps would want to see maybe Ohaneze Ndibo channeling its energy towards getting the states to be able to stand on their feet, perhaps instead of additional numbers. And let me get your reaction to that.
Well, let me tell you, when I'm tired of all these bogus reports. People submit reports, submit this. I don't know the criteria. All I want to tell you, I am the leader of Igbo. I'm the leader of Igbos. We have 5 states today. I'm telling you that our 5 states are viable. Our 5 states of Abia, Anambra, Enugu, Ebonyi, Imo are all very viable.
Okay.
Not every one of them is viable.
Okay.
They are viable. So I mean, so the question of being viable, we are viable.
Okay.
Not only that, we also have a very strong diaspora group who can, in fact, at any time we call them, can rise to challenge and give whatever support we want at home. So the truth about it, in terms of viability, we are viable. Okay. When you talk of minerals, we have a lot of minerals. Don't forget that southeastern part of Nigeria is sitting on top of the biggest reservoir of gas in Africa. We have that gas. We have other minerals. All these minerals we talked about, we have them. Right. But it's question of exploiting them. So question of viability. I'm aware people bring up documents talking of comparative. I have not studied any of them. But I'm telling you today, as the leader of Igbos, that my existing 5 states are viable. Okay. If I get even 9 states today, I can tell you they're going to be viable.
Right. Okay. There is a concern. I don't know how you're looking at it concerning even limited resources. The federal government is currently even grappling with how it can, handle its obligations. Some felt that having additional states in the country could also put that meager resources, if you like, or limited resources, or rather put it on a very difficult situation. That adding additional states means additional spendings, if you like, on the federal government, because you're talking about creating constituencies, you're talking about creating local governments, you're talking about, and then the funding might be difficult. I don't know how you're looking at this argument.
Now, I want you to listen to me. We in Igbo land know that something is wrong with the Constitution. Federal government is creating problem for itself by running a unitary constitution. Nigeria is a federation, and the founding fathers of this country in 1960 on independence had a federal constitution, which means every region will now develop at its own rate so that the burden on federal government is reduced. At that time, we had 3 regions, northern region, eastern region, and western region. Later on, the Midwest was created. It is on record that time that all reports by World Bank emphasized that eastern Nigeria was the fastest growing economy south of Sahara. It was clear at that time. So eastern Nigerian economy at that time was doing very well. Now, what we advocating, federal government should restructure Nigeria's constitution should be changed. Power should be removed, that power should be to the federal government should be reduced. More power should be given to states. More money should be given to the states. When this is done, federal government will have happiness, they will have peace. But if federal government carry all the responsibilities, and of course, we have found out that it is very difficult for them to cope. very difficult. So that is why we in Southeast, we are saying that there should be restructuring. And I want to also say that South-South, Southwest have also joined us in saying, let us restructure. We have joined, we have together, and we are saying central restructure. And indeed, Middle Belt have told us, in the North have said, they want us to restructure. So I think, don't be afraid of that. Once we restructure, the state governments will now get more, the state governments will have more money because, and people will now work very hard. You have, when you spoke, you mentioned so many resources in the North. Yeah, correct. Northern Nigeria is very rich in agricultural potentials, very rich in mineral potentials. When we restructure and power is devolved to the states, these states will be very rich. Northern states will be very rich. So we in the South, we are saying, let us restructure. But some people think that it is against the North. It's not against the North. It's in favor of the North.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think really, it's in favor of the North. Then people will now have their power, will now develop their country, their states, develop their resources, and then most of these, for example, most of the minerals you mentioned in the North are not developed. Unless you develop a mineral, you can't get the benefit of its resources. Unless they are developed. It's only when federal government surrender this power, to the states, who will now be able to develop them. Right. We are asking for it, and we hope federal government will listen to this request by South-South, by Southeast, by Southwest.
Yes. So if I understand your position, Chief, is your own demand, if you like, or agitation for state creation is not born out of the desire to have access, to resources from the center. Like some will say, once you create additional states, you have more access to funds, more participation in terms of representation and so on. If I understand your position, you are demanding for state creation in order to, support the restructuring debate, so that power will be decentralized to the center. But let me get to your assessments of the current state of things in the Southeast, for instance, like it is elsewhere. Some believe that even other components, if you like, of government, like the local governments, are not even functional in the first place. They are emasculated by the executives at the state level. That's what hinder development at the grassroots. What's your view on that? Don't you think, rather than focusing on state creation, there is need to get the states to function effectively based on the existing constitution?
Well, thank you very much. You see, Nigeria should face reality. Nigeria will have two-tier governments. It's a federation of federal government and the state or region. But in this case, we have got 36 states today. It is going to be difficult to go to the region. So we in the Southeast, we now believe that the restructuring of this country will be a federation of 36 federating units, plus the new additional state that will come from Southeast. That's 37 federating units. These states are going to be the federating units. Local government is to be under the states. It is only the state government that can be able to determine how many local governments they require. Look, Nigeria, by its structure, cannot have a uniform criteria for local government. Every state is peculiar.
I think we lost the audio there. Back in the studio, Okama Fantami, you've had the submissions, given by the leader of Ohaneze Indibo. He is not against, all these points you raise in respect to the landmass, in respect to the population size and what have you. In fact, he is in support of every region to also agitate, based on its challenges. But why is it difficult? Because we have also a number of regional groupings, in the north. The Arewa Consultative Forum is there, the Northern Elders Forum is there, and several others. Why are they also not taking this, looking at these issues, or rather approaching these issues the way, Ohaneze is doing, in order to situate their people in the right position in the scheme of things?
Well, thank you very much, sir, for that question. In that political conference in 2014,
that is the recent one.
Yes, there were agitations for creating of states in the north. For instance, Karadua, for Katago, Gurara in Niger State, Sudan State. There are so many of them. Biu, part of Borno State. There were agitations from all angles for creation of states. It was not only Indi Igbos that agitated for creation of states in that conference. All other regions presented their issues. But what we are actually saying, we are not, let me correct the notion, we are not opposing the creation of states in the southeast. What we are saying is, whenever states are going to be created any further, we are going to put all the parameters, in one place. Look at the challenges, look at the places that deserved a state for over a long period of time that they were not given, based on landmass, based on population, based on mineral resources, based on other socio-economic factors. For instance, the Indi Igbo, we are not saying, what we are looking at when we compare the size of their states and the resources they have, and we compare it with what we have in the north. If Ohaneze Indi Igbo, they need additional 1 or 2 states. What we are saying in the north, when we put all the figures, we do the proper analysis, we may demand for at least 35 to 40 states. This has been mentioned about 43 years ago, when Alhaji Sabo Bakinzua was a governor of Kano State. You may have heard the video or the audio. It was on social media. You may have heard his voice, and he has made recommendations. And when you look at it generally, the northern Nigeria, when you have a population, you have more than 70% of the total landmass, and you have just a few number of states, and you have the resources. It's not as if you don't have the resources. If you have all this, and states are going to be created, we are not saying Ohaneze Indi Igbo should not go to court. It is their fundamental rights to go to court, ask for what they want. It is also our fundamental human right to go to court, ask for what we want. They can ask for 20 states, we can ask for 100, we can ask for 50, we can ask for any number. The only thing that is needed at that time is for the court to analyze the entire country, analyze our request, look at it whether it is viable or not.
Yeah, but I put this question to Chief Nwanyau. I will also put it to you.
Yes, sir.
Because it seems that we're putting the cart before the horse in most cases.
Yes, sir.
I talked about the viability of the states. Yes. I talked about the Economic Confidential report that talks about only 7 states out of 36 that are economically viable, that can sustain themselves without federal allocation.
Yes.
Yes, maybe 1 or 2 states may be in that list in the north, in the entire north, for instance.
Yes.
But looking at the resources you've been talking about, and the size, the population, and everything,
yes.
Some find it extremely difficult to understand why these states cannot, sustain themselves. And groups like yours, who are championing the cause of the people, don't seem to be articulating some of these issues and then confronting, the people saddled with the responsibility, to address the problem?
Yes, we, frankly speaking, if you look at it very well, the issue of resource control in Nigeria by the federal government is quite challenging. Nobody is saying Nigeria should not be restructured. Nobody is against restructuring being agitated by southern part of the country. And every Nigerian who is current about mineral resources discovered in northern Nigeria, because the federal government is not exploring those resources, and the state government are not given the powers to explore those resources. I know part of the constitution, the state government can allocate land surfaces for agriculture, for construction, and so on. But the mineral resources underneath is the responsibility of the federal government. If the federal government don't want to explore the resources, develop the land, create more states, let that power be devolved to state governments.
Okay, so what stops you,
in one way or the other, we are all agitating for restructuring. The only thing we are saying is we will not like a situation whereby states will be created and the north will be acutely marginalized like the way it was done before. I will give, with due respect to our former military head of states, what they have done is they created more states to places like Southeast just for peace to reign. It's not because the North didn't deserve more states. It's not because we got 6 geopolitical zones and Abacha created more states and created like Ebonyi State with a very small landmass. Not because there are no other places, places like Bayelsa, not because in the North there are not other places that deserve a state. He has done that so that there will be not so much agitation, although he has done that with good intention, but at the same time, people from those regions still continue agitating. So because agitations continued, we also are expected to be given exactly what we deserve. Right from the time former head of state Ibrahim Babangida created state, to the time former head of state Abacha created state, we want everybody to be treated fairly, equally, for justice and good development in the country.
Right, okay, talking about doing the right thing, and then what stops you, for instance, and other groups from also going to court, taking the legal route? If Awanazi, will go to court to compel the federal government to create an additional state, what stops you from also going to court to get the federal government to hands off, ownership of mineral resources that you said are abound in the north, and perhaps also put in parameters that would compel the state governments to harness these resources for the development of the people? Today, with all these resources you're talking about, the indices are not fair to the north in terms of poverty, in terms of unemployment, in terms of all of that. So why is it difficult to also galvanize an articulate position and either take the legal route to get the government to do the right thing?
Like Chief rightly said, the Constitution, when you go to court, the court will just make interpretation based on the constitutional injunctions. Because the court will only work based on what is in the Constitution. We need further constitutional amendments. It's not just about going to court. When you go to court, you study the constitution of the country first. What are the
same provisions?
What are the provisions in the Constitution? If the provisions give you right to do so, and the federal government say you should not do so and so, then you go to court for it. Like when you talk about the state creation, we can go to court. But when you go to court, the court will refer you back to the constitutional requirements. And when you look at those constitutional requirements, they are almost impossible to create states.
So in other words, the first thing to do is to demand for further constitutional review.
Yes.
As a basis for this agitation. But how do you get that done? Because there were a series of constitutional amendments that took place. There were also recommendations that were made. Even the positions taken by the National Assembly, some of them are yet to be endorsed by 2/3 of the states. So how do we get out of here looking at the trajectory. It is not that Constitution has not been amended. It has been amended severally, but then getting it to be implemented is a serious challenge, going by also the constitutional requirement.
Yes. The bottom line is if the Constitution is amended and people are agitating and people see the need, as soon as it is a constitutional provision and the government did not do it, people can go to court. Court will interpret to the court and declare judgment. And that judgment, because it is the demand of the people, it is the need of the people, those court judgments will be implemented. There is something I want to still point out. As you look at it, if you take Anambra State, for instance, it's about 4,800 kilometers squares in landmass. Of course, it may have a relatively higher population than some other bigger state or close to those states. If you consider Kaduna State, it has a higher population than Anambra State. But Kaduna State is 46,000 kilometers squares against 4,000. So these 46,000 kilometers squares, if, for instance, you appoint a commissioner of police, most of the problems of the North is because of the sizes of our states. No. This is the point I want to bring out.
What is called the ungovernable space.
You have a very big space. You have a lot of population there. You have a lot of resources there. And you are not allowed to explore these resources because of the constitutional injunctions, the provision of the Constitution. And when federal government is making allocation, they don't consider the land mass and the population. You may see if care is not taken, a smaller state is getting a bigger allocation.
Times two or three of
times two or three of such states, like Kaduna State, like Borno State, and so on. And it's not as if they may call it oil producing state or whatever resources producing state. Meanwhile, in Kaduna State, there is crude oil lying. There is gold lying down. And the federal government did not explore it. And people are in abject poverty. People are dying. And the landmass is just there. The resources are just there. Therefore, that means the federal government is not working on the basis of the interests of the people. Then secondly, when you are appointing a commissioner of police, the issue of insecurity is also based on the sizes of the states. When you are appointing a commissioner of police, you appoint one commissioner of police to Kaduna State. You appoint one commissioner of police to Anambra State, which is a very small place. You appoint commissioner of police to Ekiti State, which is about 6,000 kilometers squares. You appoint one commissioner of police to Kaduna State, 46,000 kilometers squares and bigger population. You appoint one commissioner of police to Borno State, which is 76,000 kilometers squares and a bigger population. Then how will you expect that commissioner of police to manage the security of the state? How will you give one federal university to Borno State and give one federal university to Ekiti State, a very small land? How will you give one federal government college to Borno State and give one federal government college to Osun State, which is about 69,000 kilometers squares and a smaller population? So there are a lot of the major problems why northern Nigeria is consistently taking high indices in the poverty, unemployment, and other indices is because of the sizes of the state and the size of population and the small allocation, federal allocation. And then at the same time, the federal government is not even exploring the resources that are there. It's just that you have a wealth and you are dying in hunger.
But should everything has to be pushed to the federal government? That is the reason why you have governors at the state level. They also have responsibility to develop these potentials we are talking about, instead of waiting for federal government to do that. But then you make a very important point, that is the need to take cognizance of the space. I don't know whether you're agitating for additional deployment in terms of security, architecture, and what have you. But Chief is back. Chief Onwanyao, thank you for coming back.
I'm on the line.
After
I'm on the line. I'm on the line.
Okay, you've listened
Suleiman.
to Comrade making
Yes,
some analysis.
I want to thank Trust. I want to thank Trust Television for this opportunity.
Yeah.
But I have to caution that when people are making their demands, they must not bother hanging on other people's. This idea of this gentleman talking of Anambra, Imo, Boy State, and so on. We are making our demand. We are not stopping others from making their demand. Why should somebody not want us to get what we think we deserve?
Chief, he was
We
making
are not
comparative
stopping
analysis,
anybody from getting what he deserves.
not against the
If
demand.
he has done an exercise, listen, let me finish.
Okay.
He has done an exercise, measurement of this area of states, population of states, and so on. We have all these facts. There are so many other things all over the world that is considered in determining a state. It's not just land area and population. There are so many things that are required. And I said, every group have a right to make their own demand. We in Southeast, we made our own demand. But it's painful that our brothers from the north,
Chief, is not against
brothers from the north, people we think will support us. Our brothers from the north will now come to be the people working against us. I think we are not saying that you can't get more. We are telling you the one we want. If in that process they give the North 12, give every zone there 12, it doesn't matter. Let them give us the one we deserve. Yeah. That's all. And that is our position in everything. Now, when you talk of local government is another area where the Southeast have been badly shortchanged. Local government was created by the military without any criteria. And at any rate, we are telling Nigerians that the federating units of this country is the state. Every state should create its own local government. Every state know the type of local government they require for efficient management. A part of the insecurity we have is because of weak local government. If local governments are created and properly funded, and that is what restructuring means. When we restructure, then local governments will be created by the state according to the needs. It will not be equality of local government. It has to, some places will get many because of certain topography or certain areas, certain advantages. So I don't want a situation where we continue making reference that Southeast have done this. Southeast is not bothered. We want our own. Fight for your own. And please don't bother about our own. Okay. We have suffered a lot in this country. People hate us everywhere. We hear people are abusing us. People are telling us to leave. When in fact we are working. Wherever we go, we contribute to the economy. We work very hard to keep the state. We don't force anybody to give us anything. Yeah. But every time people are saying, even, okay, we have state in there, but you have, they're saying, oh, the state is smaller than this. Such references are not necessary. Okay. Please, I'm appealing to my fellow Nigerians. Okay. We will be happy. Right. I will be happy if more states are created in the north. If the north have it, if they think the economy, because when we restructure Nigeria, as we hope Nigeria will be restructured, any group that have an unviable state will have problems. Yeah. We in the Southeast will make sure that all our states are viable. Right. And I'm telling you that if we get even up to 9, 10 states, we are going to make sure it's viable. Right. Okay. Other people, we are not going to bother how many they want once it is viable. Okay. Okay. And in fact, even when we talk of state for a federating unit, yes, we can even decide to use the zone, the zonal structure for as federating units. In which case, we can use the 6 zones as federating units. But we in the Southeast, we will be comfortable if we use the the states. Okay. Because local government should be completely out. Yeah. So local government should not get revenue direct from federal government. Okay. Local government should get their revenue allocated to states. States should get more money then the states will now create local governments and fund them and make sure they are relevant to their economy, to their security, and whatever the development they're doing. Right. So please, I want to appeal to our fellow Nigerians to have some sympathy for us. Okay. We are not against anybody.
Yes, hi Chief.
We are not against anybody. There's no need talking about Southeast.
We're rounding up gradually.
We are not talking about anybody. Please. Thank you.
Yes, let me get your last line. The fact that you are almost saying the same thing. Agitations are, across regional divides. The challenges are also spread across regional divides. How do we get here? Because you talked about constitutional conferences in the past that produce, series of recommendations that have not seen the light of the day. And again, they are also coming up with constitutional amendments here and there. But the challenge is implementation. Each time there are recommendations, getting them to be implemented at or to be endorsed at the state level becomes difficult. How do we work on be on the same page on this to realize the objective of the restructuring that is needed for the progress of this country?
Yes, I can tell you. The answer is simple. All we require is for the North, the East, and the West, the 6 zones of this country to come together. If we come together and demand a constitutional reform, and agree on it, but at the moment, the South-South, the Southeast, and Southwest have completely agreed. And I think most part of the North have agreed too. So what it remains is for us. I don't believe that the National Assembly can carry out the type of constitutional reform we want. I think it will be very difficult. Because you see, this idea of once in a while, they carry out a amendment, and it has to go through the 36 states. It takes a long time. We have a very delicate situation today that requires a very strong action. In the first place, I think the Arewa, Northern Elders, Ohanes Ndibo, the Afenifere, Pandev, and the Middle Belt, all of us should come together. I believe if all of them come together and make a very strong voice, then they can set up a committee that can work out the way this thing can be done without much delay. Because it is very important to have this constitutional review very, very, very urgently. Yeah. Because what we are doing today is rather dangerous. Take for example, we are talking of corruption. Right. This constitution today brings corruption. Okay. You have billions of trillions of naira being spent at federal level. Yeah. Look at what happened recently.
Thank you very much.
In this humanitarian affairs ministry.
Right. Thank you very much.
We hear that billions of naira was appropriated.
Yes. Thank you very much.
No, if this money is given to states, it will not happen.
Thank you very much for your informed perspectives. I'll give you just a minute. Okay. Yes, he talked about how do we get the result, getting the right thing done. In terms of restructuring the country and then compelling the leadership to convene, if you like, or convene this, citizens a forum where these issues can be discussed and then resolutions taken.
We need another conference. That is one. In that conference, we will press our demands for constitutional amendment that will take care of all the zones. Okay. And we are not talking about just having...
Thank you, because we are actually rounding up. Okay, just...
Okay.
Yes.
I want Chief and Ohaneze Igbo to know that our group is not against their demand, and our demand is not against their own.
Thank you very much.
So everybody can achieve.
So we are all on the same page. The idea is to restructure the country for progress and development. Thank you very much once again, Chief Emmanuel Nwanyanwu, the leader of the Ohaneze Ndibo, for talking to us all the way from Owerri.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay.
My best regards to the members of your company. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. We would have to have you some other time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and Fantami, Muhammad Fantami, comrade, we're also thanking you for coming.
Thank you very much,
despite the schedule, okay?
Yes,
And this is where we come to the end of this conversation on Daily Politics. Be sure to join Daily Politics live airing every weekday and on Friday, where we have a special package that gives you an opportunity to comment on national issues. On behalf of my guests and the technical crew, I'm Shafiu Suleiman. Thank you for watching.